Good morning. This video lecture is for class 6th, subject English, PC Wren Grammar, chapter 16, Punctuation. This topic has been taken from your PC Wren Grammar textbook and it is topic number 16, that is punctuations. We'll know what punctuation is, what punctuation marks are, and how can we use these punctuation marks when we are writing sentences, paragraphs, or basically we can say when we are writing big long paragraphs. So now I will quickly take you to the next slide, that is the contents which we are going to cover in this video lecture. Entire topic punctuation will be covered only in one video lecture. Moving next. Content, introduction, common punctuation marks, full stop, comma, semicolon, colon, question mark, exclamation mark, quotation marks, capital letters, apostrophe, and there's a practice exercise and homework. And it's mandatory to do the homework. All these punctuation marks will be taught in detail in this video lecture. So without wasting time, let's quickly start with the introduction. What actually punctuation marks are? Moving to the first slide of the video. Introduction. What are punctuation marks according to you? Okay, well, I have an answer for every one of you. What actually punctuation marks are? Punctuation is a set of marks used in writing to clarify the meaning of a sentence or sentences. So basically, punctuation is a set of marks used in writing to clarify the meaning of a sentence or sentences. Basically, punctuation are there to find or to clarify that yes, one sentence is complete and now the next sentence is going to begin. So punctuation is a set of marks used in writing to clarify the meaning of a sentence or sentences. Further, the most common punctuation marks in English are capital letters. So the most common punctuation mark in English are capital letters, full stops, question marks, commas, colons and semicolons. Exclamation mark and quotation marks. So the most common punctuation marks in English are capital letters and full stop, question marks, commas, colons and semicolons, exclamation mark and quotation marks. In speaking, we use pauses and the pitch of the voice to make what we say clear. Punctuation plays a similar role in writing, making it easier to read. So we use pauses and the pitch of the voice to make what we say clear. Punctuation plays a similar role in writing, making it easier to read. So this is the use of punctuation and that's why punctuation marks are used. They are used to clarify the meaning of a sentence or sentences. We use pauses and the pitch of the voice to make what we say clear. Punctuation also plays a similar role in writing, making it easier to read and understand. Moving to the next slide. Punctuation marks. The most common punctuation marks in English are full stop, comma, semicolon, colon, question mark, exclamation mark, quotation marks or inverted comma. So these are each and every mark and this is their symbol: full stop, comma, semicolon symbol, colon symbol, question mark, exclamation mark, quotation marks or inverted commas. Clear? So these are the most common punctuation marks in English. Moving to the next slide. Full stop. We are going to start with the very first punctuation mark, and that is full stop. And we are familiar with this. I hope everybody is familiar with this punctuation mark, that is full stop. Now let's read about full stop. A punctuation mark, that is full stop, used at the end of a sentence or an abbreviation. A full stop indicates the greatest pause. We use a full stop at the end of assertive and imperative sentences. I read in class 7. So a punctuation mark is used at the end of the sentence or an abbreviation. Okay. What are abbreviation? Abbreviation means short form of a full name. Like Prime Minister, we write PM. So P.M. That's an abbreviation, short form. And a full stop indicates the greatest pause. Once the sentence is over, that's the greatest pause. We use a full stop at the end of assertive and imperative sentences. Assertive is simple sentences and imperative are command, request, order. So we use a full stop after assertive and imperative sentences. For example, I read in class 7. Next, pay attention to your study. So that is an imperative sentence. Clear? Next point. We use a full stop for abbreviations. Okay, now I'll give you some examples. PM, then is UK, United Kingdom. So if I'm using the short form of United Kingdom, I'm writing U.K. So that is a U full stop K full stop. Next, if an abbreviation is formed with the first letter and the final letter of the full word, the full stop is omitted. Example, Doctor, Mr., Mr. If an abbreviation is formed with the first letter, that means Dr. D is the first letter, R is the last letter, right? So that's what they are saying here. If an abbreviation is formed with the first letter and the final letter of the full word, the full stop is omitted. We don't put a full stop. For example, Doctor, D is the first word and R is the last word. Mr. M is the first word and R is the last word. So we don't use a full stop here. Okay. So that's wrong when we put a full stop after Doctor or Mr. We should not put it because it's an abbreviation in which the first and the final letter is used. That means the last letter is used. In that we don't put a full stop. We omit that full stop. Clear? Moving next. We use a full stop in website and email addresses. You must have got your teacher's email addresses these days because you're posting your homework. So whenever we write write gmail.com, right? So .com, that is a full stop there. So we use a full stop in website and email addresses. Example, www.yahoo.com. So the next punctuation mark that we are going to study is a comma. So now let's study what are the uses of comma and where do we use this punctuation mark, that is comma. A comma indicates the shortest pause. It is used in the following case. Let's read the cases. First, to separate item in a series or list. For example, I want a eraser, comma pencil, comma sharpener, comma scale, comma a notebook. So to separate items in a series or list. So now quickly let's read its examples. The examples are, I have a pen, comma a pencil and a rubber. So these are the series, or you can say items in a list. Next, to mark off a noun in direct address. To mark off a noun in direct address. When we are addressing someone means if you are calling someone's name. So mark off a noun. For example, Manish, here is your book. So Manish is the name and we are directly addressing the noun. Noun is a name of person, place, animal or thing. So Manish is a proper noun here. It's a name of a person. So Manish, here is your book. So we are directly referring to Manish. So we are putting a comma after Manish. Next, before and after a phrase in apposition. Okay, we have to put a comma after or before a phrase in apposition. Mr. Shukla, my teacher, is retiring next month. Okay, opposition in a connection. Mr. Shukla, my teacher, is retiring next month. Next, D1. To separate items in dates and places. Whenever we write the dates or places, we put a comma after that. For example, August 10, 2019. We have been writing this way in our letters and everything. So when we write the date to change the name of the place or something like this way to show something else, we put a comma. Next, after the salutation and the complimentary clause in a letter. Whenever we are writing the salutation or a complimentary clause like from your best friend or yours faithfully, so we put a comma, that is a complimentary clause in a letter. Example, dear grandmother, comma. Next, fifth one, to separate a reported speech from the rest of the sentence. Let's read an example for this. He said, will you help me? So this is what I think you people have done in direct and indirect speech. You know, whenever we are changing from direct, always a direct sentence has a comma after he said, she said, Ram said. So to separate a reported speech from the rest of the sentence, so we separate it by a comma, right? Moving to the next one. To separate a question tag from a statement. Whenever there's a statement, to separate a question tag from a statement, we put a comma. Example, you are intelligent, comma, aren't you? So you are intelligent, aren't you? So there's a question tag, aren't you? And there's a statement that you are intelligent. So to separate the question tag and the statement, we are putting a comma. Next, to separate certain words or phrases like however, finally, in fact, of course, etc. So to separate certain words or phrases, we use a comma. For example, after however, we put a comma. After finally, we put a comma. After in fact, we put a comma. After of course, we put a comma. And after etc., we put a full stop. Clear? Let's read an example for this. My father, however, comma, was reluctant to go. So my father, comma, however, comma, was reluctant to go. So we are going to put a comma after however. So there are certain words of phrases like however, finally, in fact. We put a comma after these. Is this clear to everyone? So these are the places where we use a comma. Or these are the conditions where we have to put a comma. Clear to everyone? Okay. Moving to the next point. To set off clauses where a pause is needed in reading. This is usually the case if an adverb clause comes first in a sentence. So to set off clauses where a pause is needed in reading. This is usually the case. Let's read one example. If it rains, we will not play cricket. If it rains, so this is an adverb clause, right? So if it rains, comma, we will not play cricket. So when we have to set off the clauses and where the pause is needed in reading, we put a comma. So if it rains, comma, we will not play cricket. So these are the places or the conditions where we put a comma. Moving to the next. Semicolon. A semicolon represents a greater pause than that indicated by a comma. So if you people remember, full stop is the greatest pause and semicolon is a bit greater than that indicated by a comma. A semicolon is used to join two independent clauses not connected by a conjunction like and. So a semicolon is used to join two independent clauses. Independent clauses means two sentences which are not dependent on each other. other. Okay, they are individually one complete sentence. So a semicolon is used to join two independent clauses not connected by a conjunction like and. Example, we can go to the museum to do some research. Mondays are pretty quiet there. So if you read, we can go to the museum to do some research is one complete sentence. Mondays are pretty quiet there. That is one sentence, right? So we are joining or we are connecting these two sentences with the help of a semicolon. Okay, here we have not used any conjunction, but they can be indicated or they can be represented with the help of a semicolon. Clear? Next. A semicolon is used when a conjunctive adverb or transitional phrase links two independent clauses. Some common conjunctive adverbs include moreover, nevertheless, however, otherwise, therefore, then, finally, likewise, and consequently. So a semicolon is used when a conjunctive adverb or transitional phrase links two independent clauses, and some common conjunctive adverbs include moreover, nevertheless. So these are the some common conjunctive adverbs. Let's read one example for that. The students had been advised against walking alone at night. However, Kathy thought walking was not dangerous if it was early in the evening. So now can you see they have indicated with a semicolon the students had been advised against walking alone at night. Yes, that is one independent clause. That means it's one complete sentence. It is not dependent on anything. So after that we are putting however. After however, you people, if you remember, in comma we had read that we put a comma after however, nevertheless, these type of words, and before this a semicolon comes. Clear? In case of a transitional phrase. Clear to everyone? Moving to the next. I am not all that fond of the colors of tiger lilies. Moreover, they don't smell very good. So after tiger lilies, there is a semicolon. Then after moreover, there is a comma. I am not all that fond of the colors of tiger lilies. Moving to the next point. A semicolon is used to separate clauses, particularly if the clauses have internal commas. Example, for this flight, group A checks in with B, C and D in with E, and F checks in with G. So a semicolon is used to separate clauses, particularly if the clauses have internal commas. Internal commas means when they already have a comma. When in a sentence we have already put a comma. So to show the separate clauses, we particularly put the semicolons. Okay, so for this flight, group A checks in with B semicolon, C and D check in with E semicolon, and F checks in with G, full stop. Clear to everyone? Next, colon. So now we had studied about semicolon. Semicolon is one dot and a comma, and colon is two dots. A colon represents a greater pause than that indicated by a semicolon. So comma is a very short pause. Semicolon is a bit greater than that, and colon is greater than semicolon also. Okay, let's read about it. A colon is used to set off dialogue for a play or other script. For example, if there's an English play in your school and I have selected 3 students, and I have to write a speech, or I have to write the dialogues of the children. So there are 3 children. I'll write Maya and I'll put colon, her dialogue is this. Ram, I'll put colon, dialogue is this. Right? Sita, I'll put 2 colons, and then I will write the dialogue to separate that particularly this dialogue is for Sita, this dialogue is for Ram, and this dialogue is for the other speaker. So now let's read an example for him. Principal Kamla, why were you late this morning? So after principal, there is a colon because I've specified who is going to speak this dialogue for the play, principal. Next, Kamla, the power went off, so I slept in. Okay, so this is the dialogue of Kamla. Next, second, a colon is used to separate a title from a subtitle. You must be watching this before you must have even opened your video lecture. The first page, even when I put a title, for example, if I put PC Wren grammar textbook, then I put topic 15, 16, anything. Then I will put colons because that is a title and the subtitle is the name of your topic which I am going to take today. So a colon is used to separate the main title from a subtitle. Example, Roots, the saga of an American family. Clear? So Roots is the main title and subtitle is the saga of an American family. Third, a colon is used to introduce contrasting statements. Okay. Example, it was useless to try pleasing him. He criticized everything. So means contrasting statements which differ. So it was useless to try pleasing him. He criticized everything. So in these three cases, we use a colon. Let's read further. Next is question mark. I think it's very easy for you people to identify where question mark will be put as punctuation mark. Wherever or whichever statement asks you a question, you feel it's asking you a question, there you have to put a question mark. Let's read about this punctuation mark. A question mark is used at the end of an interrogative sentence. Example, have you talked to Prem? Next, what are you doing? So question marks are always put at the end of an interrogative sentences. Interrogative sentences are the sentences which ask a question to us. For example, have you talked to Prem? Question mark. What are you doing? Question mark. Clear to everyone? Next, a question mark is used after a direct question which is inserted into a statement. If the question comes at the end, separate it with a comma. Okay, let's read an example. The question was, comma, was she really doing the best she could? Question mark. So here a question mark is used after a direct question which is inserted into a statement. First there was a statement and followed by a question. So I have separated the statement with a comma and then after the question I have put a question mark. So that's what it is saying. A question mark is used after a direct question which is inserted into a statement. If the question comes at the end, separate it with a comma. Clear to everyone? Question mark. I think this is the easiest punctuation mark. Moving further. If the inserted question comes in the beginning, put the question mark in the middle. Okay. In case if was she really doing the best she could would have come first, then also you're going to put a question mark once the question is over. Clear? Moving next. Was she really doing the best she could? Question mark was the question. Okay, so now see, was she really doing the best she could? I have put a question mark after that, followed by the statement was the question. Clear? So in case if the question statement comes first, then you have to put a question mark after that. Right? Third case, when writing a series of questions, use a question mark for each item. Even if items are not complete sentences, you have to put a question mark. What are you doing? Question mark. Where did you go? Question mark. So when there are series of questions, so you have to put a question mark after each and every question. The board members had to decide on a new course of action for the company. So the board members had to decide on a new course of action for the company. Expand, sell out, consider new financial reforms. So now expand question mark, sell out question mark, consider new financial reforms question mark. So the board members had to decide on a new course of action for the company. So then there was a question, expand question mark, sell out question mark, consider new financial reforms. So it is a series of questions, and each word or each sentence will be symbolized with a question mark. Clear? Moving next. Exclamation mark. An exclamation mark is used at end of a sentence to express an exclamation. What a beautiful pen you have. Next. Alas, we have lost the match. I think it's very easy to recognize an exclamatory sentence, and you people also know where to put a exclamation mark. Don't get confused between the, you can say, the interrogative sentence and exclamatory sentences, because basically interrogative sentences will ask a question and exclamatory are easy to differentiate as they are a statement which tell your feelings. Okay, so basically exclamatory sentences are the sentences which tell the feeling of yours. For example, happy, sad, sorrow. So these type of feelings are expressed by an exclamatory sentences, and we put an exclamation mark after that. Clear to everyone? Moving next. Quotation marks. Quotation marks or inverted commas are used to set off a direct quotation. Direct quotation, direct statement, right? We have done in direct and indirect. When there were direct statements, there was always quotation marks. Moving ahead. Chandan said, I will win the match. Next. The principal said, don't make a noise. Next. Quotation marks are used to set off title of poems, articles, book, chapters or essays that are part of a longer work. Means when you take a short, or you can say when you highlight a line of a poem, article, book, chapter, essay, then also we quote it with a quotation mark. We highlight it with a quotation mark. Example, the next chapter of the book was The Monster Returns from the Dead. Okay, so I have highlighted with a single inverted comma open and close, The Monster Returns from the Dead. Next example, in lesson 2, comma, you read the poem, single inverted comma open, the road less traveled, single inverted comma close, and a full stop. So these are quotation marks. Next. Quotation marks are often used with technical terms, terms used in an unusual way, or other expressions that vary from standard usage. Example, in poetry, the term alliteration refers to the repetition of beginning letters of words. So basically, when I am specifically focusing or putting my emphasis on the term alliteration, I have highlighted it with a single inverted comma open and close. So here we have used quotation mark. For capital letters. Now capital letters, you know, the name of a person, place, animal or thing begins with a capital letter. Anything which is proper noun will begin with a capital letter. Let's read about it. We capitalize the first word of a sentence and the personal pronoun I. What should I do? We capitalize the first word in a direct quotation. He said, I will help him. Next. We capitalize the names of people. I told you proper noun, names of people. Sachin Tendulkar. Clear? Rahul Dravid. Fourth, we capitalize the names of countries, races, languages, and nationalities. Indian, Tamil, French. Moving next, we capitalize the names of religions like Islam. Sixth, we capitalize the names of months, days of the week, but not seasons. Okay, they're always the autumn season, winter season, they are not written in capital letters, but days of the week like Monday, Tuesday, January, February, they are all written with a capital letter. March. Seventh, we capitalize the names of organizations, clubs, historical events, and periods of time. So we capitalize these names. Rotary Club. We capitalize titles of movies, books, magazines, plays, newspapers, and poems. So we capitalize the title, the name of these movies, books, magazines, play, newspaper, and poems. Oliver Twist. Practice exercise. There's one practice exercise that you have to do on your own, and we shall be discussing the answers in the class. Moving with the questions of the practice exercise. Punctuate the following sentences. You have to punctuate the following sentences. He is not really nice looking and yet he has enormous charm. Next sentence. When I was a child, I could watch TV whenever I wanted to. Next. It is a fine idea. Let us hope that it is going to work. Fourth, Mrs. Solomon, who was sitting behind the desk, gave me a big smile. We were, believe it or not, in love with each other. Sixth, I don't like this one bit, said Julia. Have you met our handsome new financial director? If you are ever in London, come and see you. Michael in the Ferrari was cornering superbly. Looking straight at her, he said, I can't help you. Okay, moving to the next slide. That's your homework, and it's mandatory to do the homework. Homework exercise on page 78 and 79 of your PC Wren grammar textbook. So you have to do the exercise on page number 78 and 79. It's very easy exercise. Please complete the homework and we shall be discussing the answers in the school. Okay? Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you for being such good listeners. Thank you.